The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Welcome back to the UAB Director's Chair. He is Mark Ingram, the UAB Athletic Director for those UAB Blazers. We missed you last week, by the way, but we know we come back guns a-blazing this week. And, of course, happy Holy Week to you, my friend. What's the Ingram family do for Easter?
This is like Iron Bowl for the church, is it not? I mean,
it is. Yeah, it is.
If you are a person that works in the church, this is Iron Bowl week.
Oh,
that kind
great
of
analogy.
thing. It's the
Good
Super
analogy.
Bowl. It's the national championship. It's we'll have some of our kids will come back in town, and we'll be hopefully the weather will be decent. We'll see, how that can be, but it's always nice to have them back. We enjoy holidays around things like this.
It's so crazy because it is the most important time of the calendar year if you're religious, depending on your denomination, obviously. And there's no songs. I mean, you know what I mean? There's all these classic rock artists that do all these Christmas songs and stuff. And I was talking to a pastor last night, and I said, shouldn't there be some Easter music? And the fact that kids don't even get a day off for Easter. I mean, you get 2 weeks off for Christmas. He's like, yeah, it just doesn't seem right. But, again, a lot of it has to do with suffering, then obviously the resurrection and all the good stuff that happens on Sunday. But you would think.
It is interesting that you don't get like Good Friday off.
Yeah, you should get Good Friday off, or at least, and again, I think maybe you can. I think maybe if you ask for Good Friday off and say my family wants to spend some time, they probably would, or at least Monday off or something, because it's over.
Right, and then you have to assume I didn't go to Catholic school. My wife did. Grew up going to Catholic school. I'm sure I bet they get Good Friday off.
Yeah, there's no doubt they probably get lollygag the whole week. At what ages were your kids when they stopped believing in the Easter Bunny, and how did that play into Santa Claus? Santa Claus always seems like he lasts longer. If your kids were like mine, they were always scared of the Easter Bunny.
Yeah, the Easter Bunny. I don't know that we didn't talk a ton about the Easter Bunny, and I don't remember a time when they I don't believe in it. I'm not sure they ever believed that. That's kind of a crazy story that this rabbit does this. But Santa, my children were different. And so when my oldest, who's now 24, when he figured it out, we were very quick to say, listen, if you ruin this for your siblings, your younger sister and brother, Christmas is done for you.
Yeah.
And we just got real serious. We're like, do you hear what I'm telling you?
Mm-hmm.
And we would say, those who do not believe do not receive.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And so it was our youngest, who is a junior in high school. I mean, man, she was old before. She was the oldest one by far. And it was just like a couple of years ago. I'm serious, Tony. It was like, she was in like the 7th grade or something.
That's awesome. That's awesome, though.
We held that thing forever, and it's finally my oldest. He finally is the one, even though he had held the secret that we had pressed him for so long. He finally it was around Christmas, and he was like, "Okay, look, I'm done with this. Look, Audrey, look, here's the deal. Do you really think that's what's happening?" And she was like, "Well, yeah." And so he's like, "No, it's Mom and Dad." And she was so mad. And why she was mad is she goes, I've been defending this to my friends.
Oh, that's great.
You've all been making fun of me at school, and I'm defending it.
We had a priest come over to the house. I don't know why. A few years back, and Santo, I remember sitting on the table, and he threw the question out: is Santa Claus real? And it wasn't even around the holidays. And I was like, oh my gosh! And it's a priest. What's he gonna say? So he's sidestepping, he's crab walking, he's talking about, the story of St. Nicholas, trying to, and my son just kept pressing until finally he found out. But, I always tell, like you said, if you don't believe, you don't receive. Christmases get different when you start changing your beliefs. When you start believing different things, the gifts start to change.
Fun. The whole Santa thing is a lot more
fun. Oh, heck yeah, it is. And I still believe in it. It's just in what context do you believe, right? So that's good stuff. Yeah, I remember going to the Brookwood Mall with my son, and he was about 7 or 8 years old, and that big 8 foot rabbit just ruined it for everybody. Because
Yeah.
first of all, the idea of having an animal that large,
Yeah.
and the fact that it could talk and stuff, just like Santa Claus, you get that vibe. But a big, tall, giant bunny rabbit, don't do that. Don't because I mean you're better off pretending that it's just a small little thing that runs around the front yard and throws eggs like the Easter beagle, and you'll be done with it.
Yeah.
So, all right. I always like to go to college sports, ask a little AI, maybe come up with some things to talk about here in the UAB director's chair. I'm seeing that the NCAA is proposing barring players who opt into and remain in the draft. That's a relatively new thing. It sounds like something that we've needed to work through. What exactly does that mean? Is that something that's going to pass? What are you hearing about that?
Well, I don't know if it'll pass or not. But we're trying to find ways to, as we talk about constantly about the transfer rules and all the eligibility rules and trying to find ways to put guardrails up on things that probably the casual fan doesn't even realize is an issue.
Yeah.
And but you also want to be fair to the athletes. We're not trying to not be fair to the athletes, but there's got to be some give and take for both sides that it's good for both parties. And you want people to be able to explore their draft eligibility. If I enter the draft, what the problem I think with the people on the draft side is it's like, well, Tony, we think you're a first rounder, but that's only if these other guys don't get in.
Hmm.
But if they get in, you're not a first rounder. And
Yeah.
so it's not an exact science. It all depends on who decides to go, you know what? Then yes, I'm going to enter or hold out. You could find out your draft stock improves just because other people choose not to enter.
Wouldn't you say though, and maybe you've got probably the numbers on this. What was it before we allowed paying players? How many European players were in college basketball here in the United States, and how many are there now? Because it seems like, I mean, Illinois got 4 guys from Europe. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. And I hadn't heard that. When I heard that, I was like, no, 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 that's not how it works. 'Cause they were talking about the Badako case. The only difference is he had already played in
Yeah.
college, and then he went and played the G League, and then he tried to come back. These other players never played
Correct.
college ball, but they did play professionally, and now they're playing in our sports because they're making more money here than they are over in Europe. Uh,
Yeah, or they're making more or at worst the same, and they're getting an education. They move to the United States to get to have
how,
the experience. Europe doesn't have that. No other country has the system that we have, which is where you can play your sport at a really high level in college. They
how,
they
how,
they
pre- how
have
prevalent
universities.
how prevalent? How many European players are there in college ball right now, and how can we fix that, or
I
can
don't
we
know,
fix that?
man. It's more. I don't know what the number is, Tony. It has increased though for the reasons you just stated, which is so if you were in Europe and you wanted to play after call it high school, frankly, you get into these sort of it's like a club and you start playing club basketball and you continue doing that and that doesn't change, but you start getting paid and they start getting paid at a young age, some of them, like as teenagers in the high school age. They start getting
Yeah.
paid for these clubs because they're good and they're traveling around. And you say paid. It's not like a ton of money. Their expenses are covered, that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, if they're really good, then they start playing professionally in Europe. And because that system does not, because the college system doesn't exist in Europe, we years ago had to start making an exception for a European player to want to come here. But when we did not pay them beyond a scholarship, a lot of the best players were like, yeah, I just think I'll stay here. Why would I want to add taking tests and writing papers
Yeah.
to my day? I don't want to do that. But now that they're paid and yeah, paid well, they're going, no, wait a minute. This is a pretty good deal.
Something you brought up probably a year ago, maybe not that long ago. You were surprised by the amount of money that's out there. Like I'm talking to trustees, I'm talking to boosters, I'm talking to these people. Hey, I need to raise money for this, not just for the collectibles, just for the school. We
Yeah.
need a brand new practice for this. Oh, we get the money. The money's not there. It's tight right now. Affordability, blah blah blah. And boy, then when a 5-star comes to town, all of a sudden you want to have a quarterback at Ohio State.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, millions of dollars becomes available. Um, where is this money coming from? Is it coming from a select few, like this Texas dude down there that's just going crazy? Is it coming from like the Elon Musks? I've heard Mark Cuban is well in this. Is it coming from a select few big dollar guys, the Nike guys of the world, or is it coming from everybody? And how long business people are business people, and rich people are smart because they make investments. And
Yeah,
they make money back on their investments. I
yeah,
can't see Mark Cuban spending $3 or $4 million on a quarterback for Texas Tech and figuring that's a good business decision.
yeah.
Eventually, I would think it would dry up. Or is this something that's just like fun for now and then it pulls back? How do you see it going?
Well, we all continue to be surprised at how much. Okay. And so what recently I started saying to people is there's never a time in college athletics where any department I worked in didn't need more.
Yeah.
We've always needed Georgia, Tennessee, we've always needed more, but we've never had enough. Okay. So you've got more and you've got enough. And there's this gap between more and enough. And even if we have more next year, the gap between more and enough never seems to change. And that is probably always going to exist. Where does the money come from? You've got a small number of schools, and I'm talking about five, whose athletic departments already had the money to be able to absorb this $20.5 million expenditure per the House settlement.
Okay.
But of the other ones, universities are having to, unfortunately, take resources from other places around campus, create student fees, or take money from something else they were going to do and send it to athletics so that they've got that money. Um, and then there's a combination of that and some fundraising. And then when you bring in like the name Mark Cuban or the oil guys at Texas Tech or wherever you're talking about, that's money on top of the 20.5. Okay, so you you can spend more than 20.5. It's like, well, the cap is 20.5. That's through your official revenue share.
Okay.
Then you can do NIL, which I'll just say is bogus.
Yeah.
It's totally bogus. None of these kids have a name, image, and likeness value of what we're paying them. None of them. None of them.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that the kid that was the quarterback at Cincinnati, whose name all of a sudden I can't even tell you, he's going to get $4 or $5 million to go play at
How about Sorsby?
Sorsby, thank
Yeah.
you, at
Yeah.
Texas Tech, I think.
Yeah.
You tell me you can put that kid's face on a billboard in Lubbock, Texas, and the common person drive by and go, "Oh, that's no, you can't do that."
So
And that's
so
the
ex
point.
so explain to me. You're a smart guy.
So,
You're a
well,
businessman.
here's what you got. So Cuban is paying extra money on top to either their collective, or to the university to help in this effort because he's an overzealous, I want Indiana to win guy.
Is that
And there
it,
are people that want to do that. St. John's
man?
has got a guy that helps
Well,
start Body Armor, and he's spending a ton of money on their
yeah,
basketball
it,
team.
it doesn't surprise me because we've seen this from boosters for years. I mean, I'll never forget when I was down at Tuscaloosa. This is 15 years ago, and there was this old man that was walking up these stairs, and he was pitching a fit, throwing at f bombs, and everything else, and he had just donated $12 million to the University of Alabama to put in an elevator, and they didn't put an elevator in, and he's like, "Where the hell's the elevator?" And
Yeah.
he just went on and on and on, demanded to see somebody. Da da da. I don't know who the guy was. So we've always had that
Yeah.
boosters and stuff, but and I guess now you
But,
can just put
but, but
the
let me
money
let me
behind.
say this, Tony. I was with a basketball coach 15 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and something came up about paying players, which was absolutely impermissible. And we had been at a function, a speaking function, where the basketball coach had taught, there's 300 people in a room talking about the program, getting people excited. And I just said, man, I said, knowing how illegal it is, it seems as if that would be a really touchy conversation. Like if you wanted to cheat and I wanted to get you, Tony Curry, you're the donor, wanted to get you to pay players. Boy, I got to be careful in how I present that. If I say, hey, Tony, the reason that we can't pick the school
Mm-hmm.
is because they're cheating and they're paying players, would you want to help with that? Like, if you've got any moral fiber about you and you're a high character person, that could go really wrong. Like, you could pick up the phone and call the president and say, hey,
Yeah.
man, Your basketball coach, football coach, whatever coach, just asked me to cheat. And so I said that to this coach, and he goes, Mark, he goes, here's what's crazy. He goes, how many people were in that room we were just in? I was like, I don't know, like 300. He said, I could get 200 of them to do it tomorrow. I said, what? And he goes, it's crazy. He said
Wow.
they feel like they're on the inside. They feel like they're doing what every school that is historically the blue bloods, Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, Indiana, Kansas, he's like, I could convince them that the only reason they are what they are is because they've been doing this forever and they have a network of people that cheat. He's like, whether it's true or not true, people believe it. And he said, I could get that money easy. So now what you have, Tony, is the same people that used to be willing to give that money. Now it's a tax write-off.
Yeah.
It's perfectly legal, and now you can get it as a tax write-off to do it.
Speaking of blue bloods, I went off on this on our television show on ABC 3340 Saturday mornings, 10:30, 11 o'clock. It butts up against the ABC and SEC game of the week coming up football season about Hubert Davis. I don't have a dog in the hunt. I got a couple friends of mine that are huge North Carolina fans. Basically just said, shame on you for the way that he was treated. Obviously, as an assistant coach for 9 years, was a great community leader, married for 25 years, has got 3 kids. Everyone that knows him knows that he was a great guy, averaged a record of 25-10, had winning records against Duke, knocked off Coach K the last game he ever coached in the Final Four, got to a national title in 5 years. And I know they lose this game against VCU, and I can't believe this, but that was the game. He got fired because of one game. Now, if he had won 2 national titles the last couple of years, I'm not saying they would have fired him because of that game, but that was the straw that broke the camel's back. There's a lot going on in college sports that's wrong. That to me just was horrible. I don't know Hubert Davis. I don't know if there's something else going behind the scenes. Can you please tell me, as an athletic director, how they could possibly have done this and why they knee jerk so badly? I know Duke's in the Final Four. I get that, but hell, they knocked them off this year. I mean, Hubert Davis was 4-4 against Duke. He was 6-5 as a player against Duke. He always beat
Yeah.
Duke.
Yeah.
Can you
I don't
explain
know.
that to me?
I grew up a Tar Heel fan in North Carolina and Virginia. So I used to follow them a lot, that program. Obviously, Hubert was a great player. I've never met him. I've heard he's a nice guy. I think it's as much about the fact that Duke, who is literally 5 miles away, lost, by the way, in the Final Four. They're not going to the Final Four. They're in the Elite Eight. But because
Yes.
Duke and John Shire have done so well, I think nationally and in the tournament, these coaches' success is based on how they do in the NCAA tournament. Um, and not that Hubert's has been bad. It's just not to the level of expectation that they want. And I would have to imagine, given that he played there, and if he is the nice guy you and I have both heard that he is, that wasn't a knee-jerk reaction, that it took a long time to really think, like, are we really going to do this and what does it mean? Because you're going to have a lot of former players not happy about it. And so you
Yeah.
got to take that into account. Forget the fans, forget anybody else. You're going to have a large group of influential former players that were really good that probably aren't going to be real happy about it. And so that's a part of the process. So you've thought through it. And I have to assume that the reason that they haven't named a coach is because the person that is going to be their coach is still playing basketball.
Okay. All
That's
right.
my assumption, but I don't know if that's true. But
Well,
like,
that you just pegged it down to 4 coaches. Not early. Okay. All right. Listen. North Carolina is there was an interesting article that just came out. Coaches were asked about where does it say it here? What's the best job in men's college basketball? This is the New York Times. It came out yesterday. Coaches said it's Duke, and then the field. They said it's not even close. I would think the North Carolina, that's such a beautiful area, such a neat area. You got NC State, you got all these schools. Santa wanted to go there just because there's so much basketball within like a 12-mile radius. And everyone's highly competitive for the most part.
well, look, Chapel Hill is only 20 miles from NC State.
Yeah,
So you have North Carolina State, and then 15 miles away is Duke, and 5 miles away is North Carolina, and then only about an hour away is Wake Forest.
yeah, yeah.
You've
It's
got
stout,
4 of
man.
those, and that's why they used to call that, I guess they probably still do, Tobacco Road.
Yeah, it is stout, man, and it's amazing. I hate it for him. I really do. I'm a loyal guy,
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that I stick with a guy. We've certainly seen, like I can remember when Pete Rose was the manager of the Cincinnati Reds. It was a beautiful story. It was a wonderful story that Pete
yeah.
Rose, and thank goodness he made it a lot easier for the Reds to get rid of him because of some of the things he was doing off the field, if you will. I don't think we'll ever have a player manager ever in Major League Baseball again. It's crazy that he played and managed the team. I can't believe
I
that
know that
I can't
well.
believe it actually happened. I mean, that's just like
Yeah.
crazy. Um,
Well, here's
but
another thing, Tony, this is unfair to coaches. I think that the hardest time it's ever been to coach because you find a player and if he's any good, you've got to protect and protect and protect him not to get poached off your roster every year. And you can't control the mind of a kid. And because the rules right now don't forbid them from leaving, then they leave if somebody's willing to pay them another $10. And so I can't think of the kid's name, but the point guard that's playing for Michigan was at North Carolina.
yeah,
And now he's in the Final Four with Michigan. Well, Hubert Davis is who recruited that kid.
yeah.
Michigan didn't, I'm sure Michigan recruited him, but they weren't capable of signing him. North Carolina signed him. And then he goes and has some success, and Michigan's able to pay him more money to leave, I guess.
Are you rooting for Michigan?
I'll tell you, I'm rooting for Yaxel Lindeborg, who is a wonderful kid and was a great player for us, as you know, for 2 years. And I hate I mean, it's like bittersweet. I'm happy for him, and I kind of go, oh, God, if we could have kept him one more year. But frankly, keeping him 2 years was hard. And, the amount of money that they paid him is, again, it's obscene. And he's one of the very few success stories like that. Like for a guy to leave UAB and go to Michigan and become the
Mhm.
Big Ten Player of the Year. Yeah, it worked out for Michigan, but based on what they spent and what they got in terms of results, it absolutely worked out better than even they could have predicted.
Well, I mean, you look at
That's not
Andy.
usually what happens.
You look at Andy Kennedy, and I mean, he can. I mean, you're not going to hang a banner for it, but you can certainly say, "Listen, I recruited the best player in the Big
Well,
Ten
right.
right here at
Michigan
UAB."
didn't recruit him out of junior college. We did.
Yeah, so that should speak volumes about your
But
basketball
that's why
program
you
where you're at.
also don't have as many Cinderellas making deep runs as we did prior to 2 years ago. Is these teams, yeah, High Point beat Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Okay. You can have some upsets, but the idea that FAU gets to the Final Four,
yeah.
forget it, man.
And this year, just pretty much pure chalk with Texas, the only long shot coming in. I
Butler,
wouldn't get. Yeah, I mean,
Butler and VCU and these guys that got to the Final
mhm.
Four in the past,
Yeah, George
forget it.
Mason. Yeah, there were some great ones. So you finish your basketball season. What are you trying to do, or what is Andy trying to do at this point to keep his team together? Or how does that work? Do you get together with the entire team and say, "Listen, I know there's a lot of offers out there. Here's my
Yeah.
spiel." How does that work?
Yeah, well, you first of all realize you got a couple of guys that graduate and don't have any eligibility, right? So
Yeah,
that's normal. And then you've got a handful of guys that didn't play much, and so they're gonna want to leave because they want to find a place that they can play. So there's no hard feelings there. Sometimes the difficult part is they may have to be come to the realization that this isn't quite the level for them, uh, and they had to get here to see that. We had to get them here to see that. So that's a two-part discussion. Some of the players they get it and they go, "Hey, coach, look, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, but I want to transfer to somewhere that I can play."
yeah,
And then you're going to have, call it 2 to 4 guys that you really want to keep and you're trying to fight like heck to say stuff like, look, Yaxel Lindeborg, after year one, he was kind of like this in his first year, but showed a lot of promise, which we knew, and he could have made twice what we paid him if he left. But because he stayed a second year in our system
good point.
and from the very beginning understood the defense, understood the offense, understood the press, understood how hard we want you to work, he year two was a much better player and then really got paid at
Yeah,
Michigan. Like really got paid.
yeah,
If he had left after year one and gone to another school, had to learn their system and all that stuff and try to fit in and whatever, maybe it would have been the same, but probably not.
yeah.
His
What's going
minutes
on?
might not have been as good. and it worked out better. So you're telling that story and begging them to believe that.
Yeah. What's going on down at UAB? We got Easter coming up this weekend. Tell me about what's going on. UABsports.com, UABsports.com. Tell me about you and what's going on with the program.
Yeah,
I'll let
well,
you fly. What you
softball is
got?
hosting softball, who's on a little bit of a winning streak. They went to they had not won a conference game, God bless them, and they went to East Carolina and swept East
Mhm.
Carolina on the road last weekend. Came home, beat Samford handedly the other night, so they're on a little bit of a little 4-game win streak. So we host Memphis this weekend, starting today, actually tonight. We have the Dragon Egg Hunt this weekend, which is a ton of fun before the game on Saturday. So bring your families out for that. It's a great fun event with the community. Uh, Baseball is on their is off to their second best start in program history.
Nice.
Currently ranked 43rd in the country. I know you say 43rd, but
It's
out of 365 teams to be ranked 43rd, the job that Casey Dunn is doing with no revenue share money, really, and a baseball stadium that's hardly a baseball stadium. He is just a fantastic guy and a fantastic coach and just doing a terrific job. We're hitting the ball better than we ever have, and his pitching is really coming around. They too are on a win streak. They swept Tulane, who was here on campus this past weekend,
Mhm.
and then beat North Alabama. We ruled North Alabama in 7 innings on Tuesday, so that was fun. So they are also on a win streak. Now they're on the road. They're at Florida Atlantic this weekend, who's always really good. So many good baseball players in South Florida. Uh, Florida Atlantic is always very tough, but you're playing. Baseball is interesting in that it's softball too, but you play so many games. It's if we could go to Florida Atlantic, obviously we'd like to win the series, but if you could even get one win, like when we went to East Carolina a couple of weeks ago, we won the Sunday game and frankly could have won, should have won probably the Friday game, but didn't. But the fact that we got a win is important. At the end of the season, that one game, even though you lose the series, that one game could end up being a big deal because of your overall record in conference. So we'll go down to Florida Atlantic, give it all we can, and hopefully get one or two, and come back. And I'd love to see softball's hitting the ball better too. I know I'm bouncing around, but uh, what I saw at East Carolina and the other night against Samford is we were putting the ball in play, even if we were out. We're swinging the bat, we're more aggressive, and that made all the difference.
Gonna go check out the in-laws, maybe catch a game at Great American this year.
I don't know, man. We haven't even talked about that. We've got a busy, busy, busy summer. I'm not sure we'll have time to go up there this year.
They
Our
lost
daughter's
last
getting
night.
married, and I've
They're
got,
3-3
oh,
right now. Yeah,
yeah, my daughter's getting married in May, and so
nice.
that's consuming us for the next 7 weeks. And then I've got a couple of work trips that we've got to take in kind of after that, late May, early June, and we might take an actual vacation, which would be nice. I'd like to do that, so we'll see. We'll see.
All right, man. Well, best of luck to you. We're always thinking about you, and keep it right, keep it tight, keep going, and doing your thing.
Thanks, man. God bless
Thank you, bud. Appreciate you, man.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.